Lily Potter survived. She raised Harry in secret. Now, the boy who lived returns to Hogwarts, not as a victim, but as a dangerous prodigy trained to hunt Dark Lords. Hit subscribe and like. Comment, present, below to start the lesson. The green light did not bring death, it brought silence. The cottage in Godric's Hollow had been filled with the sounds of terror only moments before. The splintering of wood, the cold, high-pitched laughter of a monster, and the desperate pleading of a father. But now, the dust settled in the nursery, swirling in the moonlight that streamed through the blasted roof. Lily Potter lay crumpled on the floor, her red hair fanned out like a halo of blood against the nursery rug. Her chest heaved. A sharp, ragged gasp tore through her throat, shattering the silence. She was alive. She scrambled backward, her boots scuffing against the debris, her wand arm trembling violently. Her eyes darted to the crib. Harry. The baby was sitting up, clutching the bars of the crib, his forehead bleeding from a jagged cut shaped like a lightning bolt. He wasn't crying. He was staring at a pile of smoking black robes and a wand of yew that lay abandoned on the floor. The monster was gone. Vaporized. Harry, Lily whispered, her voice broken. She pulled herself up, stumbling over the debris. She snatched him from the crib, pressing his small, warm body against her chest. Harry, oh God, Harry. A crack of apparition sounded from downstairs. Lily froze. Her wand was in her hand instantly. She didn't know who survived. She didn't know who had betrayed them. Sirius? Peter? Lily? The voice was guttural, panicked. It wasn't James. Severus Snape burst into the nursery, his face pale as parchment, his black eyes wild. He stopped dead when he saw her standing there, clutching the baby, her wand pointed directly at his heart. You're alive, Snape breathed, looking as though he were seeing a ghost. The Dark Lord, the mark faded? I thought. Where is James? Lily asked, though her heart had already turned to ice. Snape flinched. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. His gaze drifted toward the hallway, toward the stairs where James had tried to hold the line without a wand. He's gone, Lily, Snape said, his voice devoid of its usual sneer, replaced by a hollow emptiness. You have to leave. No. Dumbledore is coming. The Order is coming. Dumbledore failed us, Lily hissed, the shock rapidly turning into a cold, sharp rage. He said we were safe. He said the charm held. The Dark Lord is gone, but his followers will scatter and seek revenge. Snape stepped forward, urgency returning to his tone. If Dumbledore finds you, he will take the boy. He will turn him into a symbol. The boy who lived. You know how the headmaster operates. Harry will be a pawn on a chessboard before he can even walk. Lily looked down at her son. Harry was watching her with wide green eyes, her eyes. If she stayed, she would be the grieving widow and Harry would be the celebrity orphan. They would never be safe. The Death Eaters would never stop hunting the child who destroyed their master. I need a portkey, Lily said, her voice steadying. International. Unregistered. Snape hesitated only for a second. He reached into his robes and pulled out a small brass pocket watch. It was meant for me, he muttered. In case the Dark Lord. In case tonight went differently. It activates in 3 minutes. Destination, Massachusetts, USA. Lily took the watch. Her fingers brushed Snape's. Why? For him, Snape looked at the hallway where James's body lay. And for you? Always. Don't tell them I survived, Severus, Lily said, clutching Harry tighter. Tell them I died protecting him. Let them think Harry is dead too if you can. Or lost. Just buy me time. I cannot hide the boy's survival forever, Snape warned. The magic, the residue is too strong. I don't need forever, Lily said, stepping into the center of the room as the brass watch began to grow warm in her hand. I just need enough time to make him strong enough to survive them. She looked at the nursery one last time, at the ruins of her life. Goodbye, Severus. The portkey jerked behind her navel, and the ruined nursery swirled away into color and wind, leaving Snape alone in the silence of the grave. 7 years later. The Berkshires in late autumn were a tapestry of burnt orange and deep crimson. The air was crisp, smelling of pine needles and impending snow. Deep within the forest, miles away from the nearest Muggle town of Great Barrington, sat a cabin that did not exist on any map. To the few hikers who strayed too close, the area seemed unpleasantly boggy, urging them to turn around. To the magical eye, however, the cabin was a fortress. Lily Evans, she had dropped the name Potter the moment she landed on American soil, stood on the porch, a mug of coffee in her hand. She looked different now. The soft, youthful features of 21 were gone, replaced by the sharp angles of a woman who slept with a wand under her pillow. Her hair was tied back in a severe knot, and her clothes were practical, flannel shirts and jeans, blending in with the rural American style. "Harry," she called out, her voice cutting through the morning air. "Calculus or Latin? You're wasting daylight." A boy dropped from the branch of a massive oak tree, landing lightly on the balls of his feet. He was small for an 8-year-old but wiry and athletic. His hair was a messy jet-black mop that refused to be tamed, and behind a pair of round, wire-rimmed glasses, emerald eyes shone with an intensity that unsettled most adults. "I finished the Latin translations last night, Mom," Harry said, dusting off his jeans. His accent was a strange hybrid, mostly American vowels but with the clipped, precise diction of his British mother. "And the calculus creates a headache. Can't we do potions? Math is the language of the universe, Harry. Magic is just the method we use to edit the conversation," Lily said, turning back into the house. "Come inside." The delivery arrived. The interior of the cabin was essentially a library that someone happened to sleep in. Bookshelves lined every wall from floor to ceiling. Some were Muggle textbooks on physics, chemistry, and history. Others were ancient, leather-bound tomes on magical theory that Lily had acquired through questionable channels in the American magical underground. On the large wooden table in the center of the room sat a crate stamped with the seal of a private apothecary in Salem. "Is that the boomslang skin?" Harry asked, climbing onto a stool. He didn't look at the crate like a child looks at a toy. He looked at it like a mechanic looks at a new engine part. "It is," Lily said, waving her hand. The crate pried itself open. "And do you know why it cost me 3 weeks of freelance brewing wages?" "Because it's a restricted substance in Makusa territory," Harry recited, "and because it's a key stabilizing agent in polyjuice, though you said we're trying to modify it to act as a simpler disguise focused on retinal pigmentation." Lily suppressed a smile. "He was brilliant. Terrifyingly so." "Correct. Now put on your gloves. Dragon hide. If you touch raw boomslang with your bare hands, you'll develop scales that won't shed for a month." Harry pulled on the oversized gloves. "Mom?" "Oh." Lily was already measuring powdered bicorn horn. "Why do we have to learn disguise potions?" Harry asked quietly. "Are the bad men coming back?" Lily paused. She set down the silver knife. She walked around the table and tilted Harry's chin up. The lightning bolt scar was faint, hidden under his bangs, but she felt its dark resonance every day. "The world is a dangerous place, Harry," she said softly. "Most wizards are lazy. They wave their wands and expect the world to bend. But we are not lazy. We are prepared. We learn to hide so that when the time comes to be seen, we are the ones in control." Harry nodded solemnly. "So we can win." "So we can survive," Lily corrected. "Now, dice the skin. 3mm cubes. Precision matters." Harry's education was unlike that of any other wizarding child. While children in Britain were flying toy brooms and children in America were waiting for their Ilvermorny acceptance, Harry was undergoing a boot camp of the mind. Lily knew that Voldemort was not dead. She had felt the wrongness of the magic that night. She knew he was out there, a wraith waiting. And she knew Dumbledore would eventually come looking for his weapon. She would not hand him a weapon. She would hand him a king. At age 9, Harry's schedule was rigorous. 6 o'clock, physical training, running the forest trails. 8 o'clock, Muggle studies, mathematics, science, history. Lily insisted he understand the non-magical world better than any pureblood. 12 o'clock, magical theory. 1600 hours, practical application, controlled. It was a Tuesday in July when the friction of this upbringing sparked. They were in the dueling room, a reinforced basement reinforced with runic wards Lily had spent years carving. "Again," Lily commanded. Harry stood panting, sweat dripping down his neck. "I'm tired." "Your enemy won't care," Lily said, and she flicked her wand. A jet of red light shot toward him. Harry didn't have a wand. He was too young, and the trace on underage wands in America was notoriously sensitive. He had to dodge. He threw himself to the right, rolling over his shoulder and coming up in a crouch. "Why can't I have a wand?" Harry shouted, frustration boiling over. "I know the incantations. I know the wrist movements. I've read the standard book of spells grades 1 through 4. Because a wand is a crutch." Lily snapped, lowering her own wand. "It is a lens to focus your will. But if you rely on the lens, you become blind without it. Look at me, Harry." She dropped her wand on the floor. She raised her hand, palm open. Her face contorted in concentration. The air in the room grew heavy, smelling of ozone. Slowly, agonizingly, the training dummy across the room began to lift. It hovered 3 feet off the ground, shaking before slamming into the wall. Lily exhaled sharply, wiping her brow. That is magic. It is intent. It is will. It costs more, it hurts more, but it is yours. Nobody can snap it. Nobody can steal it. Harry looked at the dummy, then at his own empty hands. I want to try, he said. You're not ready for telekinesis, Harry. You'll burst a blood vessel. I want to try something else. Harry closed his eyes. He didn't think about lifting the dummy. He thought about the light. He thought about the stinging hex his mother had fired at him, the heat of it, the color. He felt a pool of warmth in his chest. It was frantic, like a bird trapped in a cage. Usually he pushed it down. This time he grabbed it. He visualized the candle sitting on the workbench. Light. He didn't shout. He didn't wave his hand. He just pushed. Pop. The candle didn't just light. The wick exploded in a flash of pure white fire, sending a column of flame 2 feet into the air before vanishing. Silence filled the room. Lily stared at the smoking candle, then at her son. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a mixture of immense pride and terrifying realization. He was 9. Silent, wandless magic was supposed to be impossible for a child. Intent? Harry whispered, opening his eyes. He looked exhausted but grinned. I wanted it to burn. Lily walked over and knelt before him. She smoothed his messy hair back. You are dangerous, little hawk, she whispered, using the pet name she rarely voiced. We have so much work to do. By the time Harry was 10, the cabin in the Berkshires had become too small for him. Not physically but magically. The atmosphere in the house had shifted from teacher-student to something resembling colleagues. Harry devoured books. He read about the Goblin rebellions and critiqued the economic sanctions that caused them. He read about transfiguration and argued with Lily about the conservation of mass. But the biggest change was the silence. In the wizarding world, noise was power. Expelliarmus, stupefy, Avada Kedavra. In the Evans household, silence was survival. Harry sat on the roof of the cabin, staring up at the constellations. The American night sky was vast. He held a small stone in his hand. He was practicing the shift. It was a technique Lily had developed, blending apparition theory with object displacement. Don't move the stone, he told himself. Move the space around the stone. He focused. His green eyes narrowed behind his glasses. He didn't twitch a muscle. With a soft thwip sound, the stone vanished from his palm and reappeared floating 3 inches above his knee. Sloppy, a voice said from the window below. Harry sighed, grabbing the stone. I displaced the air too quickly. It made a sound. Sound alerts the enemy, Lily said, climbing out onto the roof to sit beside him. She wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. If you were in a duel, that thwip would tell them exactly where you are. I'm 10, Mom. Most kids my age are still trying to figure out which end of a broom goes up. You aren't most kids, Lily said automatically, though her tone was softer tonight. She looked at him. He looked so much like James. The jawline, the messy hair. But the intensity was all hers. And the scar. The scar was its own entity. Do you miss it? Harry asked suddenly. England? Lily looked at the moon. I miss the people I lost. I miss the castle. Hogwarts, there is no place like it. The magic there is old, Harry. It's in the stones. It breathes. Will we ever go? Lily stiffened. She had been dreading this. Ideally? No. America is safer. Makusa doesn't care about your blood status or your history. Here you're just Harry Evans. But I'm not Harry Evans, Harry said, turning to face her. I'm Harry Potter. I looked it up. Lily froze. You, what? I went into your private trunk. The one with the blood warts. I figured out the arithmetic sequence to bypass the lock last week. Lily stared at him, her mouth slightly open. That ward was Newt-level arithmancy. I found the clippings, Harry continued, his voice devoid of accusation, just full of cold curiosity. The boy who lived. The Dark Lord Voldemort. Dad. Harry, You didn't want me to know I was famous, Harry deduced. Because fame makes you soft. Because if I knew people worshipped me, I wouldn't work this hard. I didn't want you to be a target, Lily said fiercely. Voldemort has followers. Fanatics. If they knew you were alive. Then let them come, Harry said. He held up his hand. The stone levitated, glowing with a faint blue aura. I'm not a baby in a crib anymore. Lily looked at her son, this terrifying, brilliant, powerful boy she had raised in isolation. She realized then that she couldn't hide him forever. A diamond cannot be kept in the dark, Eventually, it demands the light. No, she whispered. You certainly aren't. The morning of Harry's 11th birthday began with a storm. Thunder rattled the window panes of the cabin, shaking the dust off the bookshelves. Harry sat at the kitchen table, dissecting a magical toad for a biology lesson, unbothered by the noise. Mail's here, Harry noted, not looking up. In this weather? Lily asked from the stove where she was frying eggs. A tapping sound came from the window. A sleek, brown eagle, the standard courier for Ilvermorny School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, was perched on the sill, looking thoroughly annoyed by the rain. Lily opened the window with a flick of her hand. The eagle hopped in, dropped a scroll sealed with the Gordian knot of Ilvermorny, and waited expectantly for a treat. It's finally here, Lily said, forcing a smile. She handed the letter to Harry. Ilvermorny. It's a good school. House Horned Serpent would take you in a heartbeat. It's for scholars. Harry took the letter. He fingered the seal. It's close. Safe. Yes, Lily said. Safe. Thud. Something heavy hit the front door. Lily spun around, her wand instantly in her hand. The wards hadn't triggered. Nothing should be able to get close to the cabin without setting off the perimeter alarms. Thud. 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 It wasn't a knock. It was a bombardment. Stay behind me, Lily commanded. She moved toward the heavy oak door. She sensed feathers? But massive ones. She threw the door open. Standing on the welcome mat, looking like a drowned rat but radiating an air of immense self-importance, was a great horned owl. It was enormous, and it wasn't alone. Behind it, perched on the porch railing, were 3 barn owls, a tawny owl, and a screech owl. The great horned owl barked, at Lily and extended a leg. Tied to it was a thick envelope made of yellowish parchment, addressed in emerald green ink. Mr. H. Potter, The Hidden Cabin, Berkshire Woods, Massachusetts. Lily stared at the address. Her blood ran cold. The hidden cabin. The charm was broken. They knew exactly where he was. Mom? Harry stepped up beside her. He looked at the owls. That's not Ilvermorny stationery. No, Lily whispered. She reached out and took the letter. The wax seal depicted a lion, a snake, a badger, and an eagle. Hogwarts, Harry read the seal. He looked at his mother. They found us. Dumbledore, Lily said, the name tasting like ash in her mouth. Only he could pierce the Fidelius charm on the location without being the secret keeper. He must have brute-forced the wards using the blood connection. She looked at the Ilvermorny letter on the table, then at the Hogwarts letter in her hand. If they stayed in America, Dumbledore would keep sending owls. Maybe he would come himself. He would claim Harry needed to be in Britain to fulfill his destiny. If Lily refused, it would become a political incident. The Makusa would investigate. They would find out Lily Evans was actually Lily Potter, a dead woman walking, living with an unregistered powerful wand and a famous son. They would be deported or arrested. The sanctuary was over. We have a choice, Lily said, her voice hardening. She turned to Harry. We can run again. South America. Maybe Asia. We can keep hiding. Or? Harry asked. His eyes were locked on the Hogwarts seal. Or we go back, Lily said. We go back to the place where your father died. We go back to the place where everyone knows your name. We face the snakes and the old man. Harry took the Hogwarts letter from her hand. He broke the seal. He didn't read the acceptance text, he just scanned the supply list. Standard grade 1 cauldrons? Pewter? Harry scoffed. Inefficient heat conductivity. I'll need to order a custom copper one. He looked up at Lily, a fierce determination in his eyes. I'm tired of hiding, Mom. I want to see this castle. I want to see the people who think I'm their savior. Lily looked at her son. He wasn't afraid. He was analyzing the threat. She realized she had done her job too well. He was ready. She sighed, letting 7 years of tension drain out of her shoulders, replaced by a new, steely resolve. Okay, Lily said. We go back. She turned to the room, waving her wand. Books began to fly off the shelves and into trunks. Clothes folded themselves. The cauldron scrubbed itself clean. But we do this my way, Lily said, her eyes flashing green fire. We aren't going back as victims. Pack your things, Harry. We're going to London. Harry smiled, a sharp, confident smile that would have terrified Severus Snape. Yes, Professor. London was loud, dirty, and smelled of diesel fumes. To Harry, who had grown up in the pristine, pine-scented air of the Berkshires, it was an assault on the senses. He stood next to his mother in the back alley behind a grungy pub called the Leaky Cauldron. They were both wearing heavy hooded cloaks. Lily had cast a glamour over them. To anyone passing by, they looked like an unremarkable elderly couple. "Wands ready," Lily whispered, her hand gripping Harry's shoulder. "Remember the protocol. Minimal engagement. We go to Gringotts, we get the gold, we leave." "And if we're made?" Harry asked, his hand hovering near his belt where his hunting knife sat, a habit from his survival training. He still didn't have a wand. "Then we stand tall," Lily said. She tapped the brick wall in the correct sequence. The bricks shivered and rotated, opening an archway onto a cobblestone street. Diagon Alley was bustling. Cauldrons clamored, owls hooted, and the air smelled of sulfur and baking bread. Harry scanned the crowd, not with wonder but with tactical analysis. Threat assessment, low. Most targets are distracted. Security is lax. Open carrying of wands suggests a complacent society. They moved quickly toward the snowy white building towering over the shops, Gringotts Bank. Inside, the marble hall was lined with goblins counting coins. Lily walked straight to the head teller. The goblin didn't look up. "Key, please," the goblin grunted. "We don't have the key," Lily said, her voice disguised by the glamour to sound raspy. "It was lost 10 years ago." The goblin looked up, sneering. "Lost keys require identity verification. A drop of blood. And a heavy fine." "The fine is irrelevant," Lily said. "We need access to Vault 687. The goblin froze. The scratching of quills nearby stopped. "Vault 687. The Potter Vault." "That vault," the goblin said slowly, leaning over his desk, "has been sealed since the death of the Potters. There is no authorized access." Lily sighed. She looked at Harry. He gave her a small nod. "Do it." "Finite incantatum," Lily whispered. The glamour melted away like water. The elderly woman vanished. In her place stood a woman with dark red hair and piercing green eyes, looking almost exactly as she had 10 years ago, though harder, sharper. The goblin's eyes widened. He fell backward off his stool. "Impossible," he gasped. You are dead." "I got better," Lily said coldly. "Now, I would like to make a withdrawal from my husband's vault. And I would like to add my son to the authorized user list." She pushed Harry forward. He lowered his hood. The messy black hair. The glasses. The scar. The silence that swept through the bank was absolute. It started at the teller's desk and rippled outward like a shockwave. Witches and wizards froze mid-step. A coin dropped by a customer rang out like a gunshot. By the beard of Merlin, a wizard near the door whispered. "It's her. And him. The boy who lived," someone else breathed. "He's returned." Harry ignored the stares. He was watching the guards near the exit, calculating their reaction time. "Mom," he murmured in a low American accent. "Perimeter is compromised. We're going to have a crowd in 3 minutes." "Gornak." Lily barked at the goblin. "The cart. Now." The goblin scrambled up, looking terrified. "Why yes, Mrs. Potter. Right this way." As they followed the goblin toward the minecart tracks, Harry didn't look back. But he could feel the weight of 100 eyes pressing into his back. The secret was out. By the time they exited Gringotts, the news had spread. The street was lined with people. They weren't attacking, they were staring, pointing, some crying. "It's really them. Look at him. He looks just like James." Lily kept a tight grip on Harry's arm, steering him forcefully toward a peeling gold sign. "Ollivanders, makers of fine wands since 382 BC. They slipped inside and the bell tinkled. The noise of the crowd was cut off instantly. The shop was dusty, filled with narrow boxes piled to the ceiling. "I wondered when I'd be seeing you, Mr. Potter," a soft voice drifted from the shadows. Harry didn't jump. He turned slowly. An old man with pale, moon-like eyes was standing on a rolling ladder. "Mr. Ollivander," Harry said politely, "your filing system is inefficient. You have reactive cores stored next to volatile woods. That's a fire hazard." Ollivander blinked. He climbed down, looking amused and slightly unsettled. "A keen eye. Your mother has the same eyes. 10¼ inches, swishy willow. Nice wand for charm work." "I still have it," Lily said, producing her wand. "Good, good," Ollivander murmured. He turned his gaze to Harry. It was an intense, measuring look. "And your father?" "Mahogany. Pliable. Excellent for transfiguration." "Well, let's see what the wand chooses for the sun." Ollivander handed Harry a wand. "Maple and dragon heartstring. 7 inches. Try it." Harry took it. He felt nothing. It felt like holding a dead stick. He gave it a half-hearted wave. A vase on the counter shattered. No, Harry said, placing it down. The resonance is wrong. The core is too aggressive. Too aggressive? Ollivander raised an eyebrow. Most boys your age just look for sparks. I'm not looking for sparks, Harry said calmly. I'm looking for a conduit. They went through a dozen wands. Holly and Phoenix Feather, the one Ollivander seemed excited about, was a disaster. When Harry held it, the wand grew hot and uncomfortable, resisting his magic. Curious, Ollivander muttered. Very curious. I thought the brother too. Well, never mind. It seems you are not the wizard I expected you to be, Mr. Potter. Ollivander went to the back of the shop. He returned with a black rectangular box. He opened it with reverence. American hornbeam, Ollivander said. I acquired the wood from a colleague in the States years ago. Extremely rigid. It refuses to perform for anyone who does not have a singular, obsessive passion. In the core. Phoenix feather. But not fox. This feather comes from a darker breed, a smoke phoenix. Harry reached into the box. The moment his fingers brushed the dark, polished wood, the dust in the room stopped floating. A hum, low and vibrating like a cello string, filled the air. Harry felt a rush of cold clarity, like stepping out into the winter air after a sauna. It wasn't a warm greeting, it was a handshake between generals. He brought the wand down in a sharp slash. A stream of silver and emerald sparks formed a perfect geometric circle in the air before dissolving. Bravo, Ollivander whispered, looking genuinely intimidated. Hornbeam and Phoenix. A wand for a wizard with a tireless mind and a burning purpose. I think, Mr. Potter, we can expect great things from you. Terrible, perhaps, but great. Harry pocketed the wand. It felt heavy, solid. How much? 7 galleons. Harry placed the coins on the counter. Thank you, sir. You should really fix that humidity issue in the south corner. It's warping your cedar stock. Harry walked out. Lily followed, casting an apologetic glance at the bewildered wand maker. September 1st arrived with a flurry of activity. The separation was the hardest part. Lily couldn't go to Hogwarts yet. She had meetings with the Department of Magical Law Enforcement to clear up her fake death status before she could take the teaching post she had applied for. King's Cross Station was busy. Harry pushed his trolley wearing muggle jeans and a hoodie. Hedwig, his snowy owl, hooted in her cage. Platform 9 3/4, Harry read the ticket. Statistically, it has to be a spatial fold between platforms 9 and 10. Just walk at the barrier, Lily said, fixing his collar. Don't stop. And Harry? Harry looked up. Be nice, she said. Not everyone has been trained like a soldier. Let them be children. I'll try, Harry said. He hugged her fierce and quick. Stay safe, Mom. I'm always safe. Go. Harry pushed his trolley through the barrier. He emerged onto a platform shrouded in steam. A scarlet steam engine waited. It was inefficient technology, coal-powered in the 1990s, but charming. He boarded the train, finding an empty compartment near the back. He pulled out a book, Advanced Arithmancy, Graphing the Unseen. The door slid open. A red-headed boy with a smudge on his nose peeked in. Anyone sitting here? Everywhere else is full. Seats free, Harry said, not looking up. The boy sat down. I'm Ron. Ron Weasley. Harry. Ron waited. Harry? Potter? Harry sighed and closed his book. He lifted his bangs to show the scar. Wicked, Ron breathed. Is it true? Do you really remember, you know? I remember a green light and my mother screaming, Harry said flatly. It wasn't wicked. It was trauma. Ron went red. Right. Sorry. An awkward silence descended. Ron tried to recover by showing Harry his rat, Scabbers. Harry looked at the rat with narrowed eyes. That rat is missing a toe, Harry noted. And it's living unusually long for a common garden rat. Have you checked it for parasitic curses? No, Ron said, bewildered. The trolley lady came by. Ron bought a few things. Harry bought nothing, having packed nutrient-dense protein bars. Then a girl with bushy brown hair arrived. Has anyone seen a toad? A boy named Neville's lost one, she said, sounding bossy. She noticed Ron's wand out. Oh, are you doing magic? Let's see then. Ron tried a spell to turn Scabbers yellow. It failed. Are you sure that's a real spell? The girl asked disdainfully. I've tried a few simple ones just for practice and it's all worked for me. She sat down uninvited and pointed her wand at Harry's glasses. Oculus reparo. Nothing happened. Harry's glasses weren't broken. They aren't cracked, Harry said. And pointing a wand at someone's face without consent is poor trigger discipline. The girl blinked. I was just trying to help. I'm Hermione Granger. Harry Evans, Harry said, using his alias out of habit before correcting himself. Potter. Harry Potter. Hermione gasped. Are you really? I know all about you. I've read modern magical history and the rise and fall of the dark arts and... Then you've read propaganda? Harry interrupted smoothly. Those books cite no primary sources regarding the attack. They are speculative fiction at best. Hermione looked as if he had slapped her. But, it's in the book. Books can be wrong, Miss Granger, Harry said, opening his arithmancy text again. Especially when written by historians who weren't there. History is written by the victors, but the truth is usually buried in the rubble. He looked at the two of them, Ron open-mouthed and Hermione flustered. You guys play chess? Harry asked, trying to follow his mother's advice to be nice. Ron brightened immediately. Yeah. I'm the best in the family. Good, Harry said. Teach me. My tactical foresight is decent, but I lack experience with the specific piece movements. The Great Hall was exactly as Lily had described. Floating candles, enchanted ceiling, currently reflecting a clear, starry night, and 4 long tables. But the atmosphere was heavy. As the first years walked in, the whispering started. It sounded like a hive of bees. That's him. With the glasses. He looked so serious. Harry walked with his back straight, his gaze forward. He catalogued the staff table. Center, Albus Dumbledore. Threat level, extreme. Avoid eye contact to prevent legitimacy. Right, a man with a turban. Nervous tics. Quirrell. Smell of garlic and rotting meat? Suspicious. Left, a man in black. Hook nose. Severus Snape. Harry's eyes lingered on Snape. His mother had spoken of him. A complicated man, Harry. He loved me in his own broken way. He hates your father. He will likely hate you. Respect him, but do not fear him. Snape met Harry's gaze. Harry didn't flinch. He offered a small, almost imperceptible nod. Snape's eyes widened slightly, his expression unreadable. Professor McGonagall placed the sorting hat on the stool. It sang a song about unity which Harry found derivatively rhymed. Abbot Hannah. Hufflepuff. The list went on. Draco Malfoy went to Slytherin instantly. Hermione Granger went to Gryffindor. Harry noticed the hat took a while with her. Ron Weasley went to Gryffindor. Potter Harry? The hall went silent. Even the ghosts stopped moving. Harry walked to the stool. He sat down. He felt the hat slide over his eyes. A small voice whispered in his ear. Interesting. Very interesting. Get out of my head, Harry thought reflexively, his mental shield snapping into place. A technique Lily called the White Room. Oh ho, the hat chuckled. A clemency? At 11? You have been well trained. But I need to see who you are, boy. Lower the walls or I cannot sort you. Harry hesitated. Then he lowered the barrier slightly, allowing the hat to see his surface thoughts. My, the hat murmured. A mind sharp as a razor. You have a thirst for knowledge that would make Rowena Ravenclaw weep with joy. You question everything. You analyze, you deconstruct. Ravenclaw would be a natural fit. I need to learn, Harry thought. But there is more, the hat continued. Ambition. A desire to prove yourself. A desire to change the world, not just understand it. That is Slytherin. You want to protect your mother. You want to destroy the threat. Very Slytherin. Whatever it takes, Harry agreed. But where does this drive come from? The hat asked. It is not for glory. It is not for power. It is because you stepped in front of a curse for your mother in your dreams. It is because you are willing to walk into the fire if it means saving others. You have a warrior's heart, Harry Potter. You don't run from the fight. I finished the fight, Harry corrected. Exactly. Chivalry isn't about being nice. It's about standing your ground. You are a new kind of lion. The hat shouted to the hall. Gryffindor. The table on the far left exploded with cheers. The Weasley twins were yelling, "We got Potter! We got Potter!" Harry took off the hat. He glanced at the high table. Dumbledore was clapping politely, but his eyes were piercing. Snape looked like he had swallowed a lemon. Harry walked to the Gryffindor table and sat next to Ron. Profound relief, Ron grinned. Thought you'd be a Ravenclaw for sure with all that book talk. The hat considered it, Harry said, pouring himself pumpkin juice. But apparently I have a hero complex. Friday morning brought potions, the subject Harry had been most anticipating and dreading. The dungeon classroom was cold. Pickled animals floated in jars along the walls. Snape started the class by taking attendance. He paused at Harry's name. "Ah yes," he said softly. "Harry Potter. Our new celebrity." Malfoy and his goons snickered. Harry didn't react. He sat with his hands clasped on the desk, spine straight. Snape finished the roll call and looked up. His black eyes swept the room. "You are here to learn the subtle science and exact art of potion making," he began. His voice was barely a whisper, but it carried effortlessly. He gave his speech about bottling fame and brewing glory. It was a good speech. Harry appreciated the theatricality. Then Snape turned on Harry. "Potter," said Snape suddenly, "what would I get if I added powdered root of asphodel to an infusion of wormwood?" Hermione's hand shot into the air. Harry didn't look at her. He looked Snape in the eye. "You would produce a sleeping potion so powerful it is known as the draught of living death, sir," Harry answered steadily. "Specifically, the valerian roots must be crushed, not cut, to release the soporific oils properly." Snape's lip curled. He wasn't expecting the extra detail. "Where would you look if I told you to find me a bezoar?" "In the stomach of a goat, sir," Harry replied. "It is a calcified mass used as an antidote to most common poisons. However, for complex hemotoxic venoms, a bezoar is ineffective. One would need a phoenix tear or a specific antivenom." Snape took a step closer. The class held its breath. "What is the difference, Potter, between monkshood and wolfsbane?" "They are the same plant, sir," Harry said, his voice remaining polite but academic. "Also known as aconite. It is a neurotoxin. Interestingly, the American species contains higher alkaloid concentrations than the European variety, making it more potent for wolfsbane potion but more dangerous to handle." Snape stared at him. This wasn't the arrogant, clueless James Potter. This was Lily. The knowledge, the precision. It unsettled him. "Sit down," Snape snapped, though there was no bite in it. 5 points to Gryffindor. For opening a book. He turned to the board. "Instructions are on the blackboard. You are brewing a cure for boils." The class scrambled to get ingredients. Harry worked alone, Ron was partnered with Seamus. He crushed his snake fangs with precise, rhythmic movements. He weighed his nettles to the microgram. Snape swept around the room, criticizing everyone. He vanished Neville's melting cauldron with a sneer. Then he stopped at Harry's desk. The potion was a perfect, vibrant blue. The steam rose in exact spirals. Snape looked at the potion, then at Harry. "You crushed the snake fangs into a fine dust rather than a coarse grind," Snape observed quietly. "The instructions said crush. Surface area, sir," Harry said. "Finer dust reacts faster with the horned slugs, reducing the brewing time by 3 minutes and increasing the potency of the soothing agent." Snape looked at him for a long moment. "And where did you learn that?" "My mother," Harry said softly. "She told me you were the best potions master she ever knew. She wanted me to be prepared." Snape's face went completely blank. For a second, the mask slipped, and Harry saw a flash of profound pain in the dark eyes. "Your mother," Snape said, his voice sounding like tearing paper, "was exceptionally gifted." He turned away sharply, his robes billowing. Class dismissed. Harry bottled his sample. As he packed his bag, he caught Hermione watching him with a look of awe and slight jealousy. "You modified the instructions?" she whispered, scandalized. "And it worked." "The instructions are a guideline, Hermione," Harry said, slinging his bag over his shoulder. "Chemistry is the reality." He walked out of the dungeon, feeling that he had passed the first true test. He hadn't made an enemy of Snape. He had made him curious, and curiosity was a vulnerability Harry could use. But as he walked toward the Great Hall, his scar gave a sharp, burning throb. He looked up. At the end of the corridor, Professor Quirrell was leaning against a wall, massaging his turban. He looked at Harry and smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Harry touched his wand in his pocket. The game was afoot. The Halloween feast was a spectacle of caloric excess. The Great Hall smelled of roasted pumpkin and cinnamon. Harry, however, was not eating. He was dissecting the structural integrity of a floating candle while Ron Weasley shoveled shepherd's pie into his mouth. "Where is Granger?" Harry asked, scanning the Gryffindor table. Ron stopped chewing, looking guilty. "She's in the girls' bathroom. Parvati said she's been crying all afternoon. I might have said something about her being a nightmare." Harry sighed, closing his book. "Social cohesion is vital for a functioning unit, Ron. Insulting the smartest person in our year was a strategic error." Before Ron could argue, the doors banged open. Professor Quirrell sprinted into the hall, his turban askew, terror etched onto his face. "Troll. In the dungeon." Troll in the dungeon, he shrieked, collapsing against a table. Thought you ought to know. He fainted. Pandemonium erupted. Dumbledore launched purple firecrackers from his wand to restore order, then commanded the prefects to lead the houses to the dormitories. Gryffindors, follow me. Percy Weasley shouted. Harry grabbed Ron's arm, pulling him out of the line. Think, Ron. The dormitories are in the towers. The troll is in the dungeon. But Hermione is in the bathroom on the ground floor. She doesn't know. Ron went pale. We have to get her. They slipped away from the crowd, running down the deserted corridors. They smelled it before they saw it, a mixture of old socks and a public toilet. It moved, Harry whispered, stopping at a corner. It's not in the dungeon anymore. It's heading for the girls' bathroom. They rounded the corner just in time to see a 12-foot mountain of gray skin squeeze into the bathroom. A high-pitched scream echoed from inside. Lock it in? Ron suggested. And trap her with it? No. Harry drew his wand, the rigid American hornbeam. Engagement protocol, distract and incapacitate. They burst into the bathroom. Hermione was pressed against the wall, paralyzed with fear. The troll was raising a massive wooden club, smashing the sinks into porcelain dust. Hey, P-Brain! Ron yelled, throwing a metal pipe he found in the debris. It bounced harmlessly off the troll's shoulder. The troll roared and turned toward Ron. Hermione, move! Harry commanded, his voice cutting through the noise like a whip. She didn't move. She was in shock. The troll swung the club at Ron. Harry didn't shout Wingardium Leviosa. He didn't try to lift the heavy club against the troll's massive strength. That was inefficient physics. He aimed his wand at the floor beneath the troll's feet. Glacius Duo. A blast of freezing blue light hit the wet tiles. The water from the broken sinks instantly flash froze into a sheet of frictionless ice. The troll took a step toward Ron. Its foot found no purchase. The laws of momentum took over. The massive creature's legs flew out from under it. It fell backward with the force of a collapsing building. The back of its head slammed onto the hard ice with a sickening crack, and the club it was holding flew up, spun in the air, and landed squarely on the troll's forehead. The troll groaned and went still. Silence. Harry walked over, carefully stepping on the dry patches of the floor. He checked the troll's pupil response with a quick Lumos. Concussion, Harry diagnosed. Severe. It won't wake up for hours. Hermione finally let out a sob, sliding down the wall. Ron looked at the ice, then at Harry. You turned the floor to ice, Ron said, impressed. Why? Center of gravity, Harry said, holstering his wand. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Friction is a variable we can control. Professor McGonagall, Snape, and Quirrell burst into the room a moment later. McGonagall looked at the unconscious troll, the sheet of ice, and the 3 first years. Explain, she said, her voice trembling with cold fury. It was my fault, Professor. Hermione stood up, her voice shaky. I went looking for the troll. I thought I could handle it. If Harry and Ron hadn't come. Harry looked at Hermione. She was lying to a teacher to protect them. Alliance solidified, he noted. 5 points from Gryffindor, Miss Granger, McGonagall said sternly. She turned to Harry and Ron. And 5 points to each of you. For sheer dumb luck. It wasn't luck, Professor, Harry corrected politely. It was physics. Snape stared at the ice on the floor, then at Harry. He gave a short, sharp nod. A week later, Draco Malfoy made his move. Scared, Potter? Malfoy sneered in the courtyard. Wizard's duel. Midnight. Trophy room. Or does your mother teach you to run away? Harry stopped. He looked at Malfoy, dissecting the challenge. Terms? Harry asked. One's only. No contact. Crabbe's my second. Weasley's yours. Done, Harry said blankly. Later that night, in the Gryffindor common room, Hermione was pacing. You can't go, Harry. It's a violation of school rules. You'll get expelled. I'm not going to the trophy room, Hermione, Harry said, pulling on his sneakers. But you agreed. Ron said, confused. Malfoy won't be there, Harry explained, tying his laces. He's a Slytherin. He values self-preservation. Why risk a duel he might lose? He's going to tell Filch we'll be there. It's a trap. So we're staying here? Ron asked. No, Harry grinned, a mischievous glint in his eye. While Filch is busy guarding the trophy room on the 3rd floor, the restricted section of the library on the 4th floor will be completely unguarded. Ron's jaw dropped. You're mental. I'm efficient. I need to find out who Nicholas Flamel is. Hagrid let the name slip when I asked about the package from Gringotts. Coming? They snuck out under the cover of darkness. Harry had received an invisibility cloak anonymously at Christmas, a tool he found tactically invaluable. The library was silent. Harry bypassed the rope to the restricted section. The books here were dark, whispering. Here, Harry whispered, holding up a lantern. Alchemy. 14th century. He didn't open the books at random. He used a spell his mother taught him, Revelio Onomastica, which highlighted specific names in text. Flammel, Harry read. The only known maker of the Philosopher's Stone. The what? Ron whispered. It turns metal to gold and produces the elixir of life, Harry summarized rapidly. Immortality. That's what's hidden on the 3rd floor under the trapdoor. Someone wants to live forever. Who? Someone who is currently dead or dying, Harry mused. Voldemort. Suddenly, a piercing shriek echoed through the corridor. It wasn't a person, it was a book Ron had accidentally knocked over. Run, Harry commanded. They threw the cloak over themselves just as Filch burst into the library, his eyes wild. They slipped past him, pressing against the shelves, holding their breath. Harry felt a rush of adrenaline. It wasn't fear. It was the thrill of the heist. January brought snow, bone-chilling cold, and a surprise that shook the faculty. At breakfast, Dumbledore stood up. We have a staffing change, the headmaster announced, though his eyes lacked their usual twinkle. Professor Quirrell has requested to focus solely on defense against the dark arts. Therefore, I am pleased to welcome our new Muggle Studies teacher, Professor Lily Evans. The doors opened. Lily walked in. She wasn't wearing standard robes. She wore a sharp, tailored wool coat and trousers, looking thoroughly modern. She walked with a confidence that made the students sit up straighter. Harry choked on his toast. Mom? The whispers exploded. That's his mother? She's alive? She looks scary. Lily walked to the high table. She shook Dumbledore's hand briefly, it looked more like a truce than a greeting, and sat down. Her eyes scanned the hall until they locked onto Harry. She gave him a subtle wink. Later, in her office, which she had already reorganized to look like a modern academic study, Harry sat opposite her. You didn't tell me, Harry said. I needed to be closer, Lily said, pouring tea. The wards around the school are strong, Harry, but something is rotting from the inside. I can feel it. It's the stone, Harry said. Dumbledore is hiding the Philosopher's Stone here. And someone is trying to steal it. Lily froze. How do you know about the stone? Basic deduction. Hagrid's slip of the tongue plus Gringotts break-in date plus Flammel's name equals immortality. Lily sighed, looking proud but worried. You are too smart for your own good. Listen to me. Dumbledore suspects you are the child of prophecy. He wants to test you. That obstacle course on the 3rd floor? It's designed for a first year to solve. It's a trap to lure the thief, and Dumbledore is using you as bait. I know, Harry said coldly. But if I don't solve it, the thief gets the stone. And if the thief is Voldemort, then he returns, Lily finished. Harry, promise me you won't engage alone. I won't, Harry lied. But Mom, watch Quirrell. His stutter is fake. How do you know? Linguistic cadence, Harry explained. A natural stutter occurs on plosives and hard consonants. Quirrell stutters on vowels when he's thinking, but speaks fluently when he's emotional or distracted. It's a performance. Lily leaned back, her expression hardening. I'll keep an eye on him. You keep your head down. Harry found the mirror in an unused classroom while avoiding Snape one night. He stood before it. The inscription was backward. I show not your face but your heart's desire. Ron had seen himself as head boy and Quidditch captain. Harry stepped in front of the glass. He expected to see his father. He wanted to see James Potter. But the reflection that formed was different. In the mirror, Harry looked older. He was standing tall, wand in hand, wearing combat robes similar to the Aurors in the U.S. Beside him stood Lily, looking safe and smiling. At their feet lay a dark, hooded figure, defeated and dissolving into smoke. Behind them, the world was bright, orderly, and peaceful. Harry stared. He didn't just want his family back. He couldn't have that, not fully. He wanted victory. He wanted the threat to be gone so that he and his mother didn't have to hide in a cabin in the woods anymore. He wanted to stop being the boy who lived, and just be free. A dangerous artifact, a voice said. Harry spun around. Dumbledore was sitting on a desk in the shadows. Professor, Harry said, composing himself instantly. I assume you're going to tell me it does not do to dwell on dreams. Indeed, Dumbledore said, walking into the light. Men have wasted away before it. What do you see, Harry? Harry looked at the old wizard. He knew Dumbledore was a legilimens. He used the white room technique, visualizing a blank white wall to protect his thoughts. "I see myself shaking your hand, sir," Harry lied smoothly. "Winning the house cup." Dumbledore chuckled, though his eyes remained sharp. He knew it was a lie. A lovely thought. "However, the mirror will be moved tomorrow. I ask you not to go looking for it again. The mind is a complex thing, Harry. Sometimes the desire for peace can lead to war." "Si vis pacem para bellum," Harry quoted softly. "If you want peace, prepare for war." Dumbledore's expression turned grave. "That is a Roman philosophy, Harry. At Hogwarts, we prefer to believe that love is the strongest magic." "Love didn't save my father," Harry said, his voice devoid of malice, just stating a fact. "Magic would have." He turned and left the room, leaving Dumbledore looking very old and very worried. May arrived. The tension in the castle was palpable. Harry, Hermione, and Ron were convinced the theft would happen soon. But first they had detention. They had been caught by McGonagall, thanks to Malfoy snitching, out of bed. Their punishment was to assist Hagrid in the Forbidden Forest. "This is absurd," Harry muttered as they walked into the tree line. "Sending children into a forest known to house class XXXXX predators is a liability lawsuit waiting to happen." "Stop talking about lawsuits and look for the blood," Hagrid said, holding up a lantern. "Unicorn blood. Someone's hurting him badly." They split up. Hagrid took Hermione and Ron. Harry was paired with Malfoy and Fong. "I'm not going in there," Malfoy whined. "My father will hear about this." "Your father isn't here, Draco," Harry said, lighting his wand tip. "Keep your wand out and your mouth shut. Sound carries." They walked deeper into the woods. The air grew colder. The moss was stained with silver fluid that glowed in the moonlight. They found the unicorn in a clearing. It was dead, its legs twisted at odd angles. And then a shadow moved. A hooded figure crawled across the forest floor like a beast. It reached the unicorn and began to drink the blood from the wound. Malfoy screamed. He turned and bolted, Fong close on his heels. Harry didn't run. He stood his ground, his heart hammering against his ribs, but his mind cold and clear. Analyze. Threat identified. The hooded figure raised its head. Unicorn blood dripped from its chin. It saw Harry. The figure stood and glided toward him. Harry felt a pain unlike anything he had ever known. His scar felt like it was being split open with a white-hot poker. He staggered back, clutching his forehead. "Block it," a voice in his head screamed, his mother's voice. "The white room. Box the pain. Do not let it incapacitate you." Harry gritted his teeth. He forced the mental image of the white room over the pain. He shoved the agony into a box and locked it. His vision cleared. The figure was 10 feet away. Harry raised his wand. "Fumos." Harry cast. A thick cloud of smoke erupted from his wand, obscuring the figure's vision. "Incarcerus." Harry followed up, aiming for the center of the smoke. Ropes shot out, but the figure deflected them with a lazy wave of a hand. A high, cold voice hissed, "Potter." The figure lunged. Suddenly, the sound of galloping hooves shook the ground. A centaur burst through the trees, leaping over Harry and kicking out at the hooded figure. The figure recoiled, hissed in frustration, and vanished into the shadows. Harry fell to his knees, panting. The centaur turned to him. It was Firenze. "You are the Potter boy," Firenze said, his chest heaving. "You are brave. But you are foolish. Do you know what is hidden in the school?" "The stone," Harry gasped, rubbing his scar. That thing, wants the stone. "The blood of a unicorn will keep you alive, even if you are an inch from death," Firenze told him gravely. "But at a terrible price. Who would choose such a half-life?" Harry looked at the spot where the figure had been. "Someone who has nothing to lose," Harry whispered. "Voldemort." "Mars is bright tonight," Firenze said, looking up. "War is coming, Harry Potter. And this time the forest cannot protect you." Harry stood up, dusting off his robes. The pain in his scar was fading to a dull throb. "I don't need protection," Harry said, his eyes hard as flint. "I need a target." He knew now. It wasn't Snape. Snape was a jerk, but he wasn't desperate. The desperation Harry saw in that figure. That was the desperation of a parasite. "Quirrell," Harry said to the empty forest. "It's Quirrell." The night Dumbledore left for the Ministry of Magic was the night Harry decided to move. "It's a decoy," Harry stated flatly in the Gryffindor common room. "The Ministry would never call Dumbledore away by owl post when they have the flu network. Someone wants him out of the castle." "Then we have to go to McGonagall," Hermione insisted. "We tried," Ron reminded her. She threatened to turn us into pocket watches. We go tonight, Harry said, checking the straps of his dragonhide boots. The stone is vulnerable. Under the invisibility cloak, the three of them slipped past the sleeping Fluffy. Harry had enchanted a music box to play a looping melody. They dropped through the trapdoor. They landed on something soft. Lucky, Ron said. Plants. Not plants, Harry corrected, his voice tight. Devil's snare. Bioluminescent constrictor vines. As if hearing its name, the vines snapped tight, wrapping around their legs and chests. Stop moving. Hermione shrieked. It reacts to struggle. It likes the dark and damp. Harry shouted, his arms pinned. Hermione, fire. Hermione panicked. I don't have any wood. Are you a witch or a Girl Scout? Ron yelled. Use your wand. Harry groaned. Too slow. He closed his eyes, focusing on the memory of the Arizona desert, a place Lily had taken him once for heat endurance training. He didn't use the Lumos Solum spell found in British textbooks. He used an invocation from the American Southwest. Helios flare. A ball of blinding, white-hot plasma erupted from the tip of his wand. It wasn't just light, it was radiant heat. The devil's snare hissed, retreating instantly as if burned. The vines dropped them to the stone floor below. Efficient, Harry noted, dusting off his robes. They moved to the next chamber. High vaulted ceilings. Hundreds of jewel-bright keys fluttering like birds. A broomstick hovered in the center. We have to fly, Ron said, looking pale. He hated flying. We have to catch the key. Harry looked at the flock. He spotted the one with the crumpled wing. Old silver key. That's the target. He looked at the broomstick. Brooms are archaic. The aerodynamics are laughable. Harry, you can't catch that key without the broom. Hermione cried. I'm not going to chase it, Harry said. He pointed his rigid hornbeam wand at the hovering broomstick. I'm going to change the rules. Transmogrify. The broomstick twisted, warped, and reshaped itself. In seconds it wasn't a broom anymore. It was a massive U-shaped horseshoe magnet made of iron. Harry levitated the giant magnet. Achiomagnetic field. The silver keys, being non-ferrous, didn't react. But the old key, the one Dumbledore had likely charmed specifically to respond to the lock, had a steel core. It was ripped from the air, slamming against the magnet with a clank. Harry plucked the key off the magnet and tossed it to a stunned Ron. Physics, Harry said. Magnetism beats aerodynamics. The next chamber was dark until torches flared to life. A giant chessboard. Now this, Ron stepped forward, his eyes gleaming, is where you step back, Harry. You might know physics, but you don't know the game. Harry nodded respectfully. Agreed. You have command, Weasley. Ron was brilliant. He directed the pieces with a ruthlessness Harry hadn't seen in him before. He sacrificed pawns and knights without hesitation to clear the path. Harry, take the bishop. Hermione, castle kingside. The game reached its bloody conclusion. The White Queen turned her stone face toward Ron, who was sitting atop a knight. She's going to take you, Harry realized, stepping forward. No. Ron shouted. Don't move. If you move, we lose. I have to be taken so you can checkmate the king. It's the only way. Ron, Hermione started to sob. Tell my brothers I went down fighting. Ron yelled. He closed his eyes. The queen struck. Ideally, in a child's game, it would have been gentle. It wasn't. The stone sword smashed the horse, sending Ron flying into the dust. He landed hard and didn't move. Ron? Hermione screamed. Checkmate. Harry shouted, pointing his wand. The king's crown fell. Harry and Hermione sprinted to Ron. He was breathing but out cold. He's alive, Harry said, checking his pulse. Concussion. Possible ribs broken. He stood up, his face cold. Hermione, stay with him. Send up red sparks. When the teachers come, tell them everything. Where are you going? Hermione asked, terrified. I'm going to finish this, Harry said. Go back. Get Dumbledore. But more importantly, get my mother. Harry walked into the next chamber alone. A table. 7 bottles. A riddle in purple fire. Harry read the logic puzzle. It was elegant. A study in variables and elimination. Most wizards lacking logic would be stuck here forever. Harry solved the riddle in 30 seconds. But he didn't drink immediately. He uncorked the smallest bottle, the one that supposedly let him move forward. He sniffed it. Menthol. A hint of aconite. Protection against fire, Harry muttered. He drank it. It flowed through his veins like ice water. He walked through the black flames, his wand raised, his mind a fortress. Harry expected Snape. He expected a monster. He did not expect Professor Quirrell, standing before the mirror of Eriste, staring into it with a hunger that made his face twitch. "You," Harry said, his voice echoing in the large chamber. Quirrell turned. He smiled and his stutter was gone. "Me, Potter. I wondered if I'd be meeting you here." "I deduced it was you weeks ago," Harry said, keeping his distance. Snape was the obvious red herring. He's unpleasant, not evil. You, however, are a textbook case of a weak ego seeking a strong master. Quirrell's face darkened. "I have a master, Potter. A great master. He is with me now." "Let me speak to him," a voice rasped. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. "Master, you are not strong enough. I have strength enough for this." Quirrell began to unwrap his turban. The purple fabric fell away. He turned around. Harry's breath hitched. Where the back of Quirrell's head should have been, there was a face. Chalk white, with glaring red eyes and slits for nostrils. "Voldemort." "Harry Potter," the face whispered. "We meet again." "You look terrible," Harry said. It wasn't an insult, it was an observation. "Parasitism doesn't suit you, Tom." "Brave," Voldemort hissed. "Like your father." "Tell me, Harry, do you want to see them again? Your parents? I can bring them back. I can give you the world. All I need is the stone." "The stone provides an elixir of life," Harry said, his mind racing. "How do I get the stone?" "The mirror requires you to want it but not use it. It doesn't bring back the dead. It just prolongs the living." "You're lying." "There is no good and evil," Voldemort purred. "There is only power and those too weak to seek it. Join me, and you will never have to hide in the woods again." Harry stepped in front of the mirror. He felt a weight drop into his pocket. He had it. "I don't hide because I'm weak," Harry said softly. "I hide because I'm preparing. And I'm not joining a man who relies on a host body to survive. You're not a Dark Lord anymore, Voldemort. You're a tumor. Kill him." Voldemort shrieked. Quirrell spun around and lunged. Quirrell was fast. He fired a killing curse before Harry could blink. Harry threw himself to the floor, rolling behind a pillar. The green light shattered the stone above his head. "Come out, Potter!" Quirrell screamed. He waved his hand and ropes of fire whipped around the pillar. Harry was cornered. He popped out, firing a stupefy. Quirrell deflected it with a backhand slap. "American hedge magic." Quirrell laughed. "You are nothing compared to the Dark Lord." Quirrell closed the distance. He reached out to grab Harry by the neck. Harry didn't retreat. He remembered the pain in the forest. He remembered his mother's lessons on blood magic. "The protection lives in your skin, Harry." It is anathema to him. Harry holstered his wand. "What are you doing?" Quirrell sneered. "Giving up." "No," Harry said. "Checkmate." Harry lunged forward. He grabbed Quirrell's face with both hands. "Arg!" The scream was inhuman. Where Harry's hands touched Quirrell's skin, the flesh began to blister and burn as if dipped in acid. Smoke rose from the contact point. Harry felt agonizing pain in his scar, blinding white agony, but he didn't let go. He dug his fingers in deeper. "Master, help me. It burns." Quirrell shrieked, trying to pry Harry off. "Hold him." Voldemort's voice screamed. Harry's knees buckled. The pain was overwhelming. He was going to pass out. Suddenly, the door to the chamber blasted inward. "Get away from my son." Lily Evans stood in the archway. Her hair was wild, her eyes glowing with green mana. She didn't cast a spell, she released a shockwave of pure magical force. It hit Quirrell like a freight train, throwing him backward off Harry. Quirrell slammed into the stone steps, his body convulsing. He was finished. His skin was gray and cracking. "Lily." Voldemort's voice was faint now, coming from the crumbling host. Lily walked over to Harry, pulling him into her arms. She checked his pulse instantly. Then she stood up, placing herself between Harry and the dying Quirrell. "You lost this war 10 years ago, Tom," Lily said, her voice trembling with rage. She raised her wand. She began to chant in ancient Gaelic, a binding spell. A spirit, a screaming, smoky shadow, ripped itself free from Quirrell's body. It swirled in the air, forming the face of Voldemort. He looked at Lily, then at Harry with pure hatred. He couldn't touch them. Lily's presence, combined with Harry's blood, created a barrier he couldn't cross. With a final high-pitched wail, the spirit fled, blasting through the ceiling and vanishing into the night. Quirrell lay still. Harry slumped against his mother. "I got it," he whispered, pulling the blood-red stone from his pocket. I secured the asset. Lily looked at the stone, then at her son. She kissed his forehead right over the scar. You did good, Hawk, she whispered, tears finally falling. You did good. Sleep now. Harry let the darkness take him. Harry woke up in the hospital wing 3 days later. The world was too bright. He reached for his glasses, but someone handed them to him. Thanks, Mom, Harry mumbled. It's Dumbledore actually, a calm voice said. Harry sat up sharply. Albus Dumbledore was sitting by his bed, peeling a wrapper off a chocolate frog. Relax, Harry, Dumbledore smiled. Your mother is outside speaking with Madame Pomfrey. She has been quite vocal about the school's security measures. She has a point, Harry said, putting on his glasses. A first year unlocked a door with a standard unlocking charm. A 3-headed dog is a biohazard. The devil's snare is lethal. The keys and chess were time-consuming but simple logic puzzles. It wasn't a vault, Professor. It was a test. Dumbledore stopped smiling. He peered at Harry over his half-moon spectacles. You are remarkably perceptive. You wanted to see if I could face him, Harry said, accusations in his tone. You risked my life to test a hypothesis. I risked your life to see if you were ready to save it, Dumbledore corrected gently. Voldemort is not gone, Harry. He will return. And when he does, he will come for you. I needed to know if the years in hiding had made you strong or merely safe. And? You are stronger than I imagined. And different. You have your mother's love, yes. But you have a pragmatic mind that neither James nor Lily possessed at your age. Lily burst into the room then, pushing past the doors. She ran to the bed. Harry. She checked him over frantically. Are you okay? Any pain? I'm fine, Mom. Just a headache. Lily turned on Dumbledore, her eyes flashing. We are leaving Albus. Term ends tomorrow. I'm taking him back to the cabin. Lily, he belongs here. He belongs where he is alive. Lily snapped. We will return in September. But for the summer he is mine. Dumbledore nodded, conceding the point. Very well. The end-of-term feast was a chaotic affair. Slytherin had been winning the House Cup, but Dumbledore awarded last-minute points. To Mr. Ronald Weasley, for the best-played game of chess Hogwarts has seen in many years, 50 points. To Miss Hermione Granger, for the use of cool logic in the face of fire, 50 points. To Mr. Harry Potter. The room went silent. For pure nerve and outstanding courage, 60 points. Gryffindor erupted. They had won. Harry smiled, but it was a small, tired smile. He caught Snape's eye. Snape raised his goblet slightly. A truce. The next day, the Hogwarts Express chugged back to London. Harry sat with Ron and Hermione. You're really going back to America? Ron asked sadly. Just for the summer, Harry said. Mom wants to upgrade my training. She says my shield charms were sloppy. Hermione laughed. You defeated a Dark Lord, Harry? I defeated a parasite, Harry corrected. He looked out the window at the passing English countryside. He thought about the stone, which Dumbledore had destroyed. He thought about the look in Voldemort's eyes. The world now knew that the boy who lived was back. They knew he was a prodigy. They knew he was dangerous. But they didn't know the truth. Harry touched the wand in his pocket, the American hornbeam. He'll come back, won't he? Hermione asked quietly. Harry turned to them. His green eyes were hard, devoid of fear. Let him come, Harry said. Next time I won't just burn his hands. I'll burn him down. The train whistled, carrying them toward the station, toward the summer, and toward a future that was no longer written in the stars, but in the strategies of a mother and son who refused to be victims ever again. The end. That wraps up year 1 of the Emerald Enigma. This Harry plays by different rules. Now you decide his future. Comment year 2, if you want to see this tactical Harry dissect the basilisk with science, or, next, if you want a completely new, what-if, scenario. The majority rules. Vote down below.